Welcome to Beginning Guitar with Stubby the Old Guy. I'm Stubby. Beginning guitar means you're someone in that first phase of learning chords in that first position. You have a guitar, that's a big assumption. You have a book, we hope, and a local teacher or mentor, someone you're working with, playing with, help you go down the path of learning that you want to go down. This is segment 5 out of 6. If you watch some of the other segments, you know that this is a series on pattern recognition. This is a series looking at the repetitive reuse of first position chords at other places on the neck to get different sounds, different chords in different keys. In the first 4 lessons, we looked at C major, D major, F major, and G major. Today we look at E major, and we introduce the concept of the bar chord. So let's get to it. First disclaimer, I don't necessarily finger chords the way the book or the web or your teacher may show you. I think that's immaterial. You may not finger them the way I do it. I think that's immaterial too. We each have to do it the way it works best for us. I will try to point that out as I do that. So I finger the E major chord several ways. First way, and no matter what way I finger it, these notes, these strings have to be fingered in these frets. So I use my index finger on the 3rd string at the 1st fret. I use my ring finger on the 4th string at the 2nd fret, and I use my middle finger at the 5th string on the 2nd fret. That's one way. It's actually the traditional way, but I, being Stubby, I can't do some chords, but others I can do with one finger. So I use my middle finger to hold down both of those notes, and I use here. So that's my E chord. Now, so it's 3rd string, 1st fret, 4th, 5th string, 2nd fret. The rest are open. We'll come back to that open thing when we look at the bar chord. Now, like other chords, sometimes it's easy to go get the minor. This is the major. All I have to do by subtracting that finger from removing it, I get E minor. E major, E minor. So that's a subtractive way to get the minor. I can get the 7th of the blues by adding something. And I will add the pinky on the 2nd string at the 3rd fret. So this is still the same. The 2nd string at the 3rd fret with the pinky, my freelancer, and there we have that. Now, like some chords, and this will be true when we look at the A chord, this will be true when we look at the bar chords. If I take these 3 positions, I keep the same relative position, but I'm moving it down 1 string. So instead of fingering string 5, 4, and 3, I'm now fingering 4, 3, and 2. And now what do I get? I get a minor. That's A minor. So I've got the E major. I simply move my fingers over and I get the A minor. E major, drop, E minor. Basically working out of that E major pattern. Now, I got the 7th by doing this. I can also get the 7th by doing this. Excuse me, that. What I've done here, instead of fingering both the 4th and the 5th, I'm just fingering the 5th and letting the 4th be open. So instead of that, it's giving me this. Some people will play the 7th by dropping that one note and then adding this one we've already looked at. So let's look at the chart. On the chart, you will see some of these fingerings I just talked about. We use symbols. At this point, if you've watched some of these other ones, you've gotten with the madness that is me and Stubby showing you the different positions. Now let's come back and we're going to show you this E major fingering, and we're sliding it up to the 4th fret, up to the 6th fret. Not an unusual pattern. Now, second big disclaimer, I'm not a course in chord theory, music theory, and so when we have to identify chords, I use Stubby's simplified method, and I say, what does it sound like? Now, if you watch other ones, you know that. Well, let's start with this one, because this is another one of those instances where Stubby's simplified method gets pushed to the edge of relevance. Right up here, we're going to say, what does it sound like? Go has something in common with A. I think we might agree about that. It's not an A major like this is an A major, but there's something that references an A. So I'll call that an A something. That's when I'm talking to my bass player or my piano player. Now, this one is where we get pushed. What is that? It's going to be hard to find that chord, trust me. But I found it with the opening sequence when I went to the G. So what does this sound similar? Similar, not the same, similar. So it's a big stretch. I call this a G. Is it actually a G? I have no clue, but I doubt it. But at least when I do what I just did, my ensemble knows what we're trying to do. Okay. And I guess we'll just look at a little bit for a moment at that opening thing I was playing. One reason I fingered the E like this is so that I can do this. And all this is using my pinky to grab and hit this note on the 4th fret, 5th string. Okay, now let's introduce the concept of a bar chord. We have not heretofore mentioned at all the role of the nut, this piece here on the guitar, but it's been part of everything we've been doing because we're fingering strings 3, 4, 5. The nut's taking care of 6, 1, 2, they're open. That's called open. That's determined here. That's why this thing sounds major here, but when I go here, it sounds different. Well, we've moved the fingering up, but we're still letting the nut determine the sound. So the relationship between what we're fingering changes. Now, how do we modify that approach? Well, you can use the capo. Capo is nothing more than a substitute for that nut. So now, wherever that capo is, emulates the major that we found here. It's not the same major. In this case, Stubby Simplified says what? Well, it says it's probably an F. Okay. Now, we can do the same thing, and if it's the first time you're doing this, I would not tell you this is easy. You've got to train your hand. Some people have said playing guitar is a natural acts with the hand. Well, that's particularly true when you do a bar. So all that bar is a substitute for the nut or a substitute for the capo. The nice thing about when you do it, you don't put the capo on and off, you just move along. So what is it? That index finger is the bar, and it's covering all strings. And the first time you do it, you might get that without wanting that. You get that if you push down, but now we're adding in that same fingering, the E. Now I fingered the E before, like this, so I could do this. Now I'm fingering, friends of mine call this the rock style, because bar chords are rock chords. So we're fingering the same notes, and now I'm using different fingers so I can add the bar. Okay. Now, we saw when we moved this over, we got a minor. We saw when we dropped this, we got a minor. That's all still true with the bar chord. So I'm dropping that string, the finger that's holding the 3rd string. So the same thing's happening that happened here. So that's one way to get to minor. Now, remember we moved from here to here. Well, let's do the same thing here. So we're just moving these fingers over one string. One position, major, this happens to be a G major, G minor, and that's a C minor. So the power of the bar chord is not to be underestimated. The difficulty of learning it is also not to be underestimated. You're trying to train your hand to really give the right pressure. And you need, if you haven't found patience before, you haven't needed to, you probably will here. Now, let's look at the chart again, and now this time instead of the first roll, we're going to look at the second roll, which has the bar chord. And in this case, we're using a bold line to denote where at which fret we're placing the index line. So now that bold line, you haven't noticed before, is there to tell you how that works. So, have fun with bar chords. Be patient with yourself. It's going to take a while to get that figured out, you know. And I would pose to you that the bar chord is one answer. Steve Earle fingering is one answer. The folk fingering is one answer. They all depend on what the question is. So learn them all and use them as seems appropriate. Now, I'm going to go out playing a song of mine that uses bar chords. And we're going to do a slight change up. We looked at how with the major, when we drop, we get a minor, and when we move, we get a minor. I'm dropping for one of them, and I'm just moving these two and not adding back in because I want that sound. So as I've said many times in this series, play around, put fingers down, take fingers off, find the sound that you want. As a songwriter, it's an important decision. Till next time, music makers, adios. Going, and gone. Once upon a time so very long ago, back when we knew all we needed to know, back when everything was still new, back when the dreams we had came true. Now we're working hard every single day, trying to keep the wolves at bay. In the dark we race, and then we're gone. Go and go and gone. Working hard every single day, trying to keep the wolves at bay. Into the dark we race, and then we're gone. Go and go and go.